So I've been a Jon Pardi fan for a while, so much so that it inspired this horrific attempt at a music video back in 2014.
Baby, let's go, take a dirt road, kick it back, find a good song on the radio till we get lost and a sunset falling. Lay a blanket by the creek where the moon peeks over that sycamore tree.
So 5 years later, there's a couple things that I need to point out here. First is that is some fake guitar playing like I've never seen before. Like the strumming didn't even match the rhythm. Second is that is definitely a fake Southern accent, and for some reason at the time I thought that if I disguised my singing with a Southern accent, no one would notice the low quality of the singing. So speaking of 2014, let me just read you this quote from an article that was written then in the heart of the bro country era. While preserving the general essence of country music with its distinctive Southern sound and themes, perhaps artists should start writing songs that escape the overused yet comfortable mold of bro country. Not everyone lives the same exact life where all you do is drive your truck down a dirt road, which we've all heard enough times. It's time to tell us a different story. Make us think, make us feel. So that quote was actually written by me back in 2014. I wrote a paper on the evolving identity of country music over the past century. Ken Burns just did a documentary on the same topic, kind of explaining yet challenging the existence of bro country. And now, 5 years later, I am so happy because I feel like my prayers have finally been answered in mainstream Nashville country music. First with Randy Houser's Magnolia, which he released back in January, which I love so much that I started this whole YouTube channel just to talk about it, and now with Jon Pardi's Heartache Medication. I think there are just so many things that are done so perfectly in this album, and today I'm going to tell you why. If I could sum up this album in one word, it would be neo-traditionalism. What the hell does that mean, you may ask? That is a big word with a lot of letters and syllables. Well, it literally just means bringing back the traditions of the past. As country music naturally evolves from its more traditional sounds into a more modern popified, yes that's a word, sound, Jon Pardi with this album is trying to shift the needle back into the more traditional direction, and he is very self-aware that he is doing this. With songs like Old Hat, Call Me Country, and maybe even Just Like Old Times, you get his thesis statement, which is lamenting all of the changes that have come with modern society and modern country music. He's saying that he's not afraid to be old-fashioned and remind us of our past, which is really important. So in terms of what feels traditional about this album, is that it makes references to older country music, including George Strait in Nobody Leaves a Girl Like That, George Jones in Tide Went On, and then you get Willie, Waylon, Merle, Hank, Paycheck Cash in Call Me Country. But the references are subtle, sparse, and well-placed, just like tomatoes in a salad. In a good way this time. It also has very traditional country themes like love and drinking. Pretty much every song is about love or drinking or both, and you get imagery of cowboys and rodeos. You also get some really sweet traditional instrumentation, such as steel guitar and fiddle. Oh my gosh, there is so much fiddle, like literally in every song, but it's pretty great. But in spite of all of that, this album still feels super fresh and modern, and I could see it appealing greatly to modern country audiences. You can dance to this stuff because it's so fun and upbeat and groovy, and he actually approaches the traditional topics of love and drinking in a really unique, wholesome, and innovative way. Just like the way he says things, you're like, whoa, I've never heard it said like that before. And let's just dive into each song and I'll show you what I mean. So the album starts out with a song called Old Hat, which I think is just the perfect neo-traditionalist anthem, where he just lays out his entire thesis statement. Yo, I'm old-fashioned and I'm proud of it. There's still a bunch of us here still holding on to the past. I think there's a lot of really fun wordplay with the boots and the hats. The end of the chorus goes, There's a lot of us old cats wearing old boots and old hats that ain't ready to give the old hat the boot. So that's pretty clever, isn't it? You know? Boots and hats and boots and cats and boots and hats and boots and cats. So you know how I said that pretty much every song on this album is either about love or drinking? Well, this song's about both. Heartache Medication is just a really catchy, upbeat, fun, dancing, partying, drinking song, but at the same time, it's really sad because it's about heartache and trying to erase the memory of this past love. My only complaint is that if interpreted incorrectly, the song could potentially advocate for alcohol as a remedy to emotional pain. But I think the phrase heartache medication is super catchy and such a great title for this album. And who knows, maybe it's not drinking alcohol itself, but the whole experience of dancing to music at a bar that is the true heartache medication. Okay, so I think this song is incredible because of the unexpected plot twist in the middle. So sorry, I'm gonna spoil it, but as I was listening to verse 1, he's kind of describing this beautiful, amazing girl walking into a bar, and you think, okay, this is every country song, like he's gonna go hit on this girl, and when you get to the chorus, he goes, nobody would ever leave such an amazing girl with a heart of gold. That dude must have sucked. I'm gonna be so much better. Then when you get to verse 2, you realize that it was him who left her. So instead of being this pretentious, like, I'm gonna love you better than he did song, it becomes this vulnerable confession of guilt and regret for his past actions. He tells the story of the things he did, not by saying, I did these things, but instead through this extra layer of removal where he says nobody would ever do these things, but that's what I did. So to me, it's such a deep, powerful, and emotional song, yet at the same time it's disguised as this like super fun, upbeat, catchy song. So of course, I've loved this song ever since it first came out a few months ago, and I see this kind of as the flip side of the previous song, Nobody Leaves a Girl Like That, where instead of him leaving her, instead he's the one being left behind. But it's the same feeling of loneliness and heartbreak and brokenness that he experienced before. So once again, he tells the story in a really unique way with this extra layer of removal. Instead of saying, she left me and she did these things, he instead says it's not always the cowboy who leaves and does these things, implying that she did them. And I really like that subtle storytelling. Oh my gosh, this song is so fun and so upbeat, and if it doesn't make you want to dance, then there is something wrong with you. I love how it kind of has this like dark, evil, sinister edge to it, and it's about his friend Jack, aka Jack Daniels, who ends up ruining his life. He loses his job, he loses his girl, and he ends up in jail. So in a way, it could be interpreted as this like nice, wholesome message warning you about the dangers of drinking, kind of like Jamie Johnson's High Cost of Living. But at the same time, there's a part at the end where he's like, I'm gonna go get some Crown. So who knows, maybe the cycle repeats. But I love how at the end there's this like evil cackle, and it just speeds up into this like super fun, wild, crazy rock jam, and it is awesome. So after the fastest song on the album, you now get arguably the slowest song on the album, featuring Lauren Elena. I think this is the perfect duet song because it sounds like they're singing to each other. I think it's interesting that they sing the chorus in unison. I kind of wish they harmonized, but that's okay. I feel like there's a lot of country songs about drinking and blaming your actions on alcohol. But this song kind of pushes back against that and says, it's not the alcohol. There is something deeper going on here, and let's talk about it and figure out what it is. So I really do like how this song starts out nice and slow with that sweet, sweet fiddle. And then as you go into the chorus, it speeds up and launches into this super fun, energetic, upbeat song. It's a really happy drinking breakup song. It's kind of like Heartache Medication, except he is happy about leaving her rather than trying to drown his sadness. And I am not a rodeo expert, but I believe there is some rodeo wordplay going on here with the main line, I cut her loose and tied one on. I think that's something you would do with a cow, but in this case, it means he got rid of her and is drinking, and it's just such a fun song. So now we have another super fun party drinking song, but it has a darker vibe to it. I really love the driving rhythm of it. It feels dirty, it feels dark and foreboding, and the message is that we're all trying to be good, but we're all susceptible to temptation and doing things we regret because we are human beings who are wired to crave that next rush of dopamine. I do like how he is self-aware that he is going to regret this in the morning, but he is doing it anyways. Okay, so this song is probably my least favorite on the album, but that's okay. I don't love the instrumentation, but I totally understand why it is like that, because it's about tequila. You want to evoke those Mexican island vibes. The pun, I want tequila little time with you, is like one step too cheesy for me personally, but I think it works because he's being so wholesome and sweet when he approaches her. He's like genuinely trying to comfort this girl who is crying, and he goes up to her and is like, pardon me, I don't mean to pry, but you're too pretty not to wear a smile. And every time he says that line, I want to melt. I'm melting! Melting! This is just a really solid song. Jon Pardi is basically saying, gather round boys, let's all respect our cowboys and our veterans and our musicians, and buy them a beer and listen to their stories and hang out together. It's so warm and inviting, and I feel like he's buying me a beer and I'm not even a man. It also just sounds so good. It's so catchy and groovy, and I love it. So this is another really perfect neo-traditionalist anthem. And we all know that country music loves to jerk itself off. Country music loves to be self-referential, and there are so many country songs that are just about the country songs that came before it. And that's cool and stuff. But I feel like this song has done it very tastefully, because instead of just being like, fuck yeah, country music, it actually has a message which laments the loss of what we used to consider country music. It says, I'm a ghost on the radio and it's all gone now. It's reflecting back on the past and how everything has completely changed. I love how he compares old country music to an old violin put away and never played again. But as he sings that, there's actually this fiddle in the background, and it's this literal metaphor for how he is bringing back the fiddle, which is really cool. I see what you did there. And now we have this nice, slower, bluesy song, which I kind of see as a more personal version of Call Me Country, because once again, it's about nostalgia and reflecting back on the past, the good old days. And he's this time reuniting with a past love, and there's this hope that they'll get back together. He says, let's see where it goes. who knows, you might start something new. So there's this really cool interplay of the old and the new, which kind of also is the overarching theme of this album. So now we have yet another slower song that also is a really beautiful love song. It feels very connected to Nobody Leaves a Girl Like That, where he regrets leaving her, as well as Ain't Always the Cowboy, where he experiences her leaving. And I'm not saying that all songs are connected, I already tried that before, but now that they're back together, because he says things been going pretty damn good, it's almost like the happy ending we all wanted. You get this really cool juxtaposition of happy and sad, where you realize that his love is so strong and so deep for her, because it is built from this sad, painful memory and thought of her leaving. And I think that is really powerful. So finally, we end the album on the most beautiful, pure, wholesome note with Starlight. I think this is the most folksy, bluegrassy song on here with the banjo and the mandolin. It reminds me a lot, whether intentional or not, of the Steel Drivers song Angel of the Night. It even says in the chorus Angel of the Night, so it was probably an inspiration for the song, but this song feels like a more modern, accessible version of it, though I love both songs a lot. I think this song is so universal and spiritual and really unites us together. Overall, I am just so excited about this album and what it means for mainstream Nashville country music. Please let me know if you liked it as much as I do, and I will see you later.